Iran is going to be closing parts of the Strait of Hormuz today, a vital shipping lane, as it conducts naval exercises.
We need to look at what's going on in the region. Just over the last 24 hours, 50 U.S. fighter jets with their tankers have been moving from the U.S. and from Europe to bases in the Middle East. F-35s, F-22s, F-16s. The U.S. military buildup in the region is very significant. And I don't think Donald Trump is moving all those assets to the region just in order to bluff.
Well, the second round of talks between the United States and Iran took place, and we're getting mixed signals, Jake. Okay, I have no idea, because on one hand, you have the Iranian side saying, we've made some progress, actually. This happened to be a productive meeting, a constructive meeting. But then you hear from, Axios reporter and Israeli insider Barak Ravid, and he says, well, he makes it seem as though war is all but certain. So what do you make of all this? What are your 2 cents?
Yeah, so there's 2 different parts of this, which is, are we gonna start the war? And then number 2 is, why are we starting the war? So for why, there's some indisputable facts that I can't wait to share with you guys. And for are we going to start it? Well, there's 2 very contradictory tea leaves that you're talking about, Anna. We're gonna share them both, and then I'm gonna weigh in on which one I think is more likely to be true.
Now, first, a little bit of context. These negotiations took place in Oman, and Oman's foreign minister was essentially the mediator as these talks took place. He did mediate a previous round of talks earlier this month. Now, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are involved in these negotiations, which gives me little to no hope. But nonetheless, on Monday, Trump said aboard Air Force One that he would be involved in the talks indirectly, and that Iran wanted to make a deal. And just last week, President Trump said in a social media post that he himself allegedly prefers a deal with Iran, but that, if one cannot be brokered, we will just have to see what happens next or what the outcome will be. So, he has been in some cases vague, in other cases specific, in saying that he wants a deal to be made. And then sometimes he issues threats. Now, it looks like there was some progress, according to the Iranians. There was some progress in the latest round of talks, and that's according to specifically Iran's foreign minister, who says that the atmosphere in this round of negotiations was more constructive. Good progress had been made in comparison with the first meeting. But he also cautioned that both sides have positions that will take some time to get closer to each other. The path to an agreement has been started, but that does not mean that we can reach an agreement quickly. So the next steps include Iran essentially drafting a proposal on how to close the gap of disagreement between the United States and Iran. They are to share that proposal in the next 2 weeks. But the biggest sticking point, as we've talked about on the show already, is the fact that Israel wants Iran to give up its ballistic missiles. Actually, let me pause for a second. The biggest obstacle to a peace deal or a new nuclear deal is the fact that Israel doesn't want peace. They want regime change in Iran. So it is unsurprising that they keep moving the goalposts and making these negotiations more and more impossible. So what do I mean by that? Israel wants Iran to give up its ballistic missiles, which is nonsense. You give up your ballistic missiles, then you have no way of defending yourself when Israel inevitably attacks, because Israel attacks all of its neighbors, multiple countries in the region. They've bombed 7 countries in the last 2 years. So with that in mind, Ayatollah Khamenei called demands to limit the range of Iran's ballistic missiles illogical, arguing that such demands interfered with a nation's right to possess weapons of self-defense. Quote, any country without deterrent weapons will be crushed under the feet of its enemies, he said. Iran instead focused its offer on a plan to dilute its enriched uranium stockpile. And the access that would be provided to the UN nuclear inspectorate, the IAEA, to Iran's bombed nuclear sites. They've been blocking the IAEA from, reaching those nuclear sites ever since the 12-day war occurred. But I want to go to one other video here, because the Ayatollah seems to have accepted that we're headed toward war, because while you have the foreign minister trying to make peace, Khamenei has issued some threats. Let's watch.
It seems to them that the US president keeps saying this: the US army is the strongest army in the world. The strongest army in the world may sometimes get slapped so hard that it cannot stand up straight. They keep saying we've sent an aircraft carrier towards Iran. Very well. An aircraft carrier is certainly a dangerous piece of equipment. But more dangerous than the carrier is the weapon that can send that carrier towards the bottom of the sea.
So what do you make of those statements, Cenk? Because when I see that, I think to myself, okay, the Ayatollah is expecting a war to happen, and he doesn't seem afraid. Now, he could be bluffing, but I also remember the fact that China's getting more involved in terms of arming the Iranians.
Yep.
There is some reporting indicating that Russia will also get involved.
All right, it's time for New Year's resolutions. We all make them, but I'm not making any big flashy resolutions that are gonna crash and burn by February. My reset is much simpler. It's about giving myself a break in the kitchen. Not by eating less, don't be crazy. But let's be honest, thinking about what to eat, shopping for it, cooking it, it's a drain. And when you're drained from cooking, you can't focus on the work that matters, and that's the work right here. That's where Cook Unity comes in. It's been my way of cheating. Like I have a personal chef. I'm very fancy that way, please. But without the insane cost. Restaurant quality meals on my schedule. So I ordered a bunch of things that I loved. So we got the pepperoni naan pizza. I love pepperoni pizza, I love naan. You put it together, it's genius. Golden chicken schnitzel. It's schnitzel, but it's golden. Okay, this stuff is all so good. New Orleans shrimp and grits, they have sausage in there too. Love it. And that's my point, guys. These aren't boring and repetitive meals. These are all-star chefs, Food Network alum, and James Beard winners. Handpicking seasonal ingredients and balancing bold flavors with nutrition. Every meal is a small batch masterpiece delivered fresh, never frozen. It makes hitting wellness goals effortless because a nutritious, incredible meal is ready in minutes. No shopping, no cooking, no cleanup. You can browse by chef, by cuisine, filter macros to the gram, not a thing I would do, but you could. And it's way less than takeout or even grocery store prices. Plus their packaging is part of a reusable, eco-friendly program. You can't ask for more. Taste comfort and craftsmanship in every bite from the award-winning chefs behind Cook Unity. Go to cookunity.com/TYT or enter code TYT before checkout to get 50% off your first order. That's 50% off your first order by using code TYT or going to cookunity.com/TYT.
Are we headed toward World War III?
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far quite yet, but let's break it down one by one. So if we care about the terms of this negotiations, then actually things are looking great. Why? Because there's three basic terms that the Americans started with. You have to get rid of your uranium program entirely. You have to get rid of all of your ballistic missiles, and you have to get rid of everyone in the country. No, I'm kidding. But the third one was also ridiculous. You're not allowed to have any regional allies or proxies, and we now control your foreign policy, right? So Iran said the last two are non-starters. We're not going to let you control our foreign policy, and we're not going to get rid of our ballistic missiles. Then we'll have no defense at all. Not just Israel, Saudi Arabia, or any enemy of ours could just simply take us over. So those are non-starters. So where we are in the negotiations are, the Iranians say that it looks like the Americans have gotten past those two non-starters. We're mainly talking about the uranium. And in terms of the uranium, there's an easy deal to be had, it looks like, from what I'm reading, which is Iran says, look, we're not going to end the program entirely, but with the ones we've brought up to 60% enrichment, we will hand those over. And we will allow the IAEA to come in and inspect our nuclear sites, and we will not enrich beyond nuclear energy levels. And so they have made almost every concession that they can make on that ground. So that's not the question, whether we can get to a deal. We can get to a deal, it sounds like, within 5 minutes. The question is, are these negotiations real? So we know for a fact that Iran wants a deal, they don't want to get killed. We know for a fact that Israel does not want a deal. And they don't, like they said in the beginning, weapons of mass destruction, the same BS they always use. Oh my God, they're gonna have nukes any second. They've been saying for 20 years. Okay, we wipe out their nuclear program. They say, oh my God, they now have missiles and rocks and pebbles and cocoa pebbles, and we have to remove everything from Iran.
Those cocoa pebbles are dangerous.
Yeah, let alone the fruity kind. So although I'm not sure that's allowed in Iran. Anyway, I'm kidding. All right, little levity to a serious story. So, okay, so Israel doesn't want it. Then the question is, America. Does America want it?
No.
Okay, now, when we get inside America, and I'll come back to what's gonna happen if the war starts. This is why I get so frustrated with corporate media, because they're pretending that there's a real debate in this country. There's no debate at all. No. There's not a single actual voter, Republican or Democrat or independent, that isn't Israel first, that says, oh my God, my life would be so much better if we attacked Iran. Like, I just can't, is there a kitchen table in Kansas or Missouri somewhere talking about, like, God, I just wish the government would attack Iran. God, you know what, if we started a war with Iran, I bet my grocery prices would be lower and I bet my wages would be higher. If I had one thing that I wanted from the US government, it's to start a war in the Middle East that is 4 times the size of Iraq, because that's what Iran is, and much better equipped. So literally no actual American voter wants this. Only the Israel supporters in America, whether they're assets, agents, or just like, rah, I love Israel and America should work only for Israel. So those are literally, very literally, show me one American, if you're a mainstream media reporter, show me one American who says this will help my life. That is not Israel first. You won't be able to find one. So literally no one wants this war, and Trump ran on anti-war. Democrats claim they're even more anti-war. So the question is, the very core of this question, and it is critical, do we run our own government, or does Israel run our government?
We already know the answer to that, though.
But if we know the answer to that, Anna, and you're 100% sure, because I'm
100% sure. I would bet my life on it.
No, here's how I view it, right? Does Israel have massive, disproportionate influence on the government?
Yes.
Obviously, right? So now the only question is it 80%, 90%?
100%, Cenk.
Hold on.
Why are we even having this discussion? It's a waste of time. Literally, it's a waste of time.
No, 100%, or 100%.
It is 100%.
But Anna, look, the reason we're having this discussion is not because, we're corporate media and we like to play ass-slap football and have fake conversations. No, we're having this discussion
because you're the eternal optimist and I'm a realist, okay? Israel controls our government 100%. It doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or a Republican sitting in the Oval Office. They're gonna be Netanyahu or whoever the prime minister of Israel is. They're gonna be that individual's dog.
So I hear you completely, and I think that you're probably right, okay? But what I'm laying out as a marker for the audience is, well, you'll know soon. So if we don't attack Iran, it doesn't mean that Israel doesn't have any influence. We still give them $330 billion. We've helped them start all the other wars. We still shovel all sorts of money towards them, right? But it would mean that they don't have 100% control over the US government, because they definitely want this war. And if we don't go to war, that means they don't have 100% control. Okay, if we do go to war, this conversation is over. Israel not only controls the government 100%, like our government is compromised. I want that to sink in for you. The US government, if that happens, is totally compromised. It is actually not the US government, it's the Israeli government. And that is an unbelievable thing to discuss right now. And that is where we are.
We deployed our military to fight Israel's war in Iraq. It was all based on a false premise of weapons of mass destruction, but at the end of the day, Israel wanted us to invade Iraq, and we did, okay? They sent 0 IDF soldiers, whereas we lost thousands of American troops, okay? That's point number 1. Point number 2, we are in a massive amount of debt, and we continue as a country to take out more debt to handle that money or hand that money over to Israel. They don't pay for their own weapons, we pay for their weapons, even though we are drowning in debt. Our little American empire is declining like you wouldn't believe, but hey, Israel's more important. So like to say, is it 80%, 90%? It's 100%, it's been 100% for some time now. And it's about time for people to take the blinders off and realize the pretty dire situation we're in as Americans. Because right now we are literally having a debate and a conversation about going to war, invading a foreign country, not for us, not because it's gonna benefit us, but on behalf of Israel. And it's never been more overt and obvious. Previous wars that we fought on Israel's behalf, literally arming Al-Qaeda in Syria on behalf of Israel, all of that garbage that we got engaged in. Okay, I'm sorry, like the debate is over. In my world, in my view, the debate is over.
So I hear you, and to that point, today I was thinking, look, there was a confluence of events that led us to go into Iraq. One of them was not 9/11 because Saddam was against Al-Qaeda. So if anybody's telling you that, they're a verified liar, right? So weapons of mass destruction, you could say that some people weren't sure about that, etc. But why? But we all know that it was the oil companies, the banks who were speculating, the defense contractors, and now Israel, right? But then I thought this today, Anna. Yes, but the oil companies, defense contractors, et cetera, they would have won no matter which country we attacked.
That's right.
Why did we pick Iraq of all countries? At the time, the Israeli prime minister said that was their #1 enemy. Now they say Iran is their #1 enemy. So look, I don't think any of this is that complicated. I tend to agree with Anna.
Thank you.
The reason that I'm saying what I'm saying now is because I like to lay out markers ahead of time so you guys can all see it with your own eyes, right? So that's why, for example, we said if the camera in the hallway is not working when Epstein was killed, that means somebody killed him. If it is working, it means he committed suicide. You lay down a marker before you find out so that you see who's right and who's wrong. Now, today, mainstream media can say, oh no, we just disagree. We think the people in Kansas and Hawaii and Rhode Island can't wait to attack Iran. But after the war starts, when like literally no American wanted it, they can't say that Israel doesn't control our government. That's absurd. It's patently absurd.
But you know what? I think it's gonna actually work out really well for Israel's PR campaign. Maybe if they just buy more bots on X, they can convince Americans to not hate Israel after they dragged us into a war that we shouldn't be involved in at all. On its behalf, by the way. On its behalf. Fully on its behalf. By the way, I just want to go to a few videos featuring Barak Ravid, because he was interviewed by CNN today. And I thought he had some interesting things to say. So I started feeling maybe a tiny bit of optimism after hearing what the Iranian side of these negotiations had to say. It seemed like there had been a little bit of positive progress. But remember, Barak Ravid is an Israeli, he's an Israeli insider, and so he would probably have a better sense of what's going on than we would, obviously. And here's what he had to say about the alleged breakthrough that took place during the negotiations.
As far as I know, I don't think any breakthrough happened in those talks. What I heard from US officials after the talks was they say that the talks went as expected. That's the quote, as expected. It's not really as positive of a readout as the Iranians gave after the talks. And I think I'm not sure that at the moment there's really any agreement between the US and Iran, even when it comes to guiding principles.
You know, he says that, he also said, by the way, in the context of that interview, that there's no daylight between Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump. That might be literally the first time Barak Ravid is on record saying that there's no daylight between them. Because every other report has made it appear as though Trump is, like wagging his finger, or Biden was wagging his finger at the Israelis. No such thing, that did not happen. But look, I also happen to agree with what you're about to hear Ravid say, because he makes a really good point about the military buildup in the region. Take a look.
We need to look at what's going on in the region. Just over the last 24 hours, 50 US fighter jets with their tankers have been moving from the US and from Europe to bases in the Middle East. F-35s, F-22s, F-16s. The US military buildup in the region is very significant. And I don't think Donald Trump is moving all those assets to the region just in order to bluff. And if there's not going to be any real tangible concession from the Iranians, all of those assets will be used pretty soon. At the moment, we have no evidence to show that the Iranians have put something tangible on the table. And this is what the US wanted. I heard it from at least 3 different US officials.
I happen to agree with him. I mean, it would be one thing if you send a military asset here or there just to kind of threaten them. But that's not what's happening here. A third of our Navy assets are already deployed to the region. That's not a good sign.
Yeah, so that was the counterpoint I was gonna get to. So the good news is that if the negotiations are real and we care about the terms, this deal is gonna be pretty easy to make, right? The bad news is, if you made me bet, I would say that the negotiations are not at all real. They're just buying time for our aircraft carriers, and by the way, our ground troops to arrive. Right? So, and that's exactly what's been happening. And Donald Trump on several occasions has bragged about, I was pretending to do a peace deal, and then I was just waiting for the surprise attack them. Well, knucklehead, when you say that, next time you're pretending to do a peace deal like this, everybody's prepared, right? And of course, as you guys know, the Israelis regularly murder peace negotiators, so they never want peace. And they tried to murder these particular negotiators in Iran as well. So, okay, but the bad news is, in terms of whether it's a real negotiation or not, is how many assets we've moved into the area. So I used to think that moving those kind of assets in, like for example, off the coast of Venezuela, was Trump's way of saber rattling, right?
And coercion.
And he loves to bluff, and that's a great way to bluff. So rationally, I thought maybe he's setting up a bluff. And by the way, if I was in charge, I might do things like that, right? I would not want to go to war at all, but the threat of war can get you some extractions and negotiations, etc., right? But this is way too many troops. And why are the transport planes going? 150 transport planes? If you want to bluff, maybe you send in 10, 20, 50, 150. So bringing in ground troops, not one aircraft carrier, 2 aircraft carriers. I mean, we're bringing half our freaking fleet there.
Great.
No, very, very likely we're going to attack. And so they're not, and remember guys, even bringing the fleet there costs a tremendous amount of money.
Yeah, it does, right? You're exactly right about that.
And now back to the Ayatollah's comment. Guys, so our job is to analyze the news in kind of almost a microscopic fashion. So what we do is we look to see how they react in different situations. When the war was being threatened the first time around, the Iranians were far more reserved. And one, they didn't want the war. And so they were like, hey, listen, let's make a deal. We'll figure this thing out, etc. Number two, I'm not sure that they were equipped well enough back then. Now they've made a deal with the Chinese. They definitely have new weapons. They definitely feel better equipped, right?
Yeah, they do.
So the Ayatollah is almost taunting us now. So all that means is he's more confident.
And guys, you have to think about how China is likely going to act based on its own interests, because what we just did in Venezuela hurt China, because China was getting its oil from Venezuela. China also gets its oil from Iran. So China's involvement isn't simply because they're like, oh, we're besties with Iran. No, they want to protect their own interests.
And they have a second interest. China would love this war.
They would. They want to watch us bleed out.
Exactly. Yeah. So China's like, oh, you're gonna go waste your entire fortune. By the way, money you're borrowing from me that you're gonna pay interest on for the rest of your lives. And you're gonna spend it all on fighting Israel's war? And you're gonna get bogged down in Iran with all those mountains and 4 times the size of Iraq. And we just gave them weapons that could sink your aircraft carriers. Oh, I mean, you couldn't gift wrap it for China better than this.
Can I also, this is gonna add to our conversation, but I'm gonna read something to you. It's framing that really got under my skin. I wanna get your thoughts on it. This is from the New York Times, quote, countries in the region worry that a potential American strike and Iranian retaliation that could draw in Israel could destabilize the Middle East and endanger US allies in the Arab world that host American soldiers. Oh no, could it potentially draw in Israel? Wouldn't it be nice if Israel fought its own wars and didn't drag us into fighting its wars for them?
So the New York Times couldn't find a single connection between Epstein and Israel. And Epstein is making like dozens of deals on Israel's behalf, including buying them cyber weapons. But now the New York Times is like, can you imagine if beloved Israel was hurt for the war they wanted? I mean, my God, we should fight all of their wars and have all of our guys die and spend trillions on the global war on terror. Global war on Israel's enemies. We already wasted $8 trillion fighting these wars. How much is Israel going to bleed us dry?
As much as they can.
Yeah, and the media will go, no, everyone's an anti-Semite, and you all better shut up. And if you don't agree to your own robbery, then you hate a random ethnic group. We had nothing to do with that. All right, last thing, guys. Look, Israel knows that if we have our guys get hurt in the middle of that attack, that Trump and all of our media, who are all apparently, and this is also new to me, like I knew that our media was biased in favor of Israel. That's not complicated. I didn't know that it was just a monopoly. Like when they refused to acknowledge a single connection that Epstein has to Israel, I was like, wow. So the whole corporate media works for Israel as well.
Yeah.
So what they will do the minute we lose the soldiers, they won't say, God damn it, Israel dragged us into this war for no reason. They'll say, we have to go larger. Oh, America's been hurt.
We need a surge.
It's Iran. Iran's the boogeyman. Iran's terrible. We need a bigger war. And you'll see pundits all over cable news, bigger war, bigger war. And then they'll never talk about Israel again. Because they'll be like, oh, this is America versus Iran. Iran killed our soldiers. We have to murder all of them on behalf of Israel. Come on, it's so obvious. That's why it's so frustrating. And guys, I'm super worried about it because I've been telling you this for a long time. You regular viewers will remember me saying this on many, many clips. At some point, we're gonna lose an aircraft carrier. They're sitting ducks.
No, our soldiers are gonna die. And when they die, I want you all to remember they did it for Israel, okay? I'm sure everyone will feel better about that.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.